for the Small Business Energy Efficiency Financing, SBF launch, and Project Platform Basics. My name is Jonathan Verhoof. This is going to be a relatively brief presentation, about 30 minutes, and then we are going to have time for Q&A. So everyone, please hold your questions until the end in case the questions get answered partway through the presentation. This presentation is being recorded and will be available for consumption later when we post it online. The goals of the webinar today are, we're going to provide a brief overview of the SBF program. For some of you, this will be new. For some of you, it will be a recap. We're going to highlight our participating finance companies, introduce our contractor manager. We're going to describe and demonstrate the new project platform, which is a tool which you can use to submit project data to the program. And then at the end, like I said, there will be time for Q&A. The Small Business Financing Program helps California for-profit and nonprofit small business owners access up to $5 million in financing for energy efficiency projects. There's no cost for contractors or customers to participate in the program. The customer can combine financing with utility rebates or incentives. Financing companies mitigate risk through a credit enhancement and have the option to collect repayments through energy bills. And this program is one of a group of Go Green financing offerings, which also include single and multifamily programs. Go Green Financing is our public-facing branding, which offers financing solutions through the California Hub for Energy Efficiency Financing. The Chief is a public-private partnership administered by the State of California Alternative Energy and Advanced Transportation Financing Authority. CATFA is what we're called. And we are supported by California's investor-owned utilities. We are delighted to announce that SBF is now fully launched. That means that we have new options and features available. We have a project platform, as I mentioned, which we'll be demonstrating shortly, and this provides an easy way to submit project information and certifications. Contractors and project developers are now being advertised on gogreenfinancing.com. We have participating finance companies who provide pre-funding and progress payments. And we have three methods of measure eligibility, which offer a lot of flexibility to the program. There's the pre-qualified list. This is a list of broad categories which are intended to capture the most common measures used in the industry. There's also the option for measures to be certified by a professional engineer or certified energy manager. And anything that qualifies for a utility custom incentive automatically qualifies. So that means the program is scalable and flexible to have either very small single measure projects up through very large custom projects. And like I said, we are fully launched, so we're excited that we have projects that have already been enrolled and we have several more in the pipeline. So yes, now is the time for you guys to get involved with the program. We have three participating finance companies, Ascentium Capital, DLL, and Alliance Funding Group. Each of these finance companies is offering a diversity of products with different terms. This slide highlights some of those terms, but to get the more details, you should definitely reach out to the participating finance companies. Right now, we have financing available for projects anywhere up from $10,000 up to $5 million, and the first $1 million is eligible for credit enhancement. We have terms going all the way up to 10 years. Products available include traditional loans and leases, as well as service agreements for ongoing maintenance of equipment. Our finance companies pride themselves on very quick turnarounds, and we have financing and project approval within 48 hours. And as I mentioned previously, pre-funding and progress payments are available on a contractor-by-contractor basis. Of the three companies, two of them currently enrolled will finance solar, although we're not allowed to credit enhance that. That is an option to fold into the financing. And we are working to recruit more lender partners. We're seeking a micro lender to finance projects smaller than 10,000, and we're also working to bring in some community CDFIs and other partnerships. Now I'd like to introduce our contractor manager. We've contracted with Frontier Energy. They are going to be our contractor manager to be a liaison to contractors and project developers and help assist you with all of your program questions. With that, I'd like to introduce Drew from Frontier.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, we can
Seems
hear
like
you.
awesome. Thanks. I always question myself on these. Yeah, so like Jonathan said, my name is Drew. I am the lead for Frontier's contractor and project developer support team here at Frontier Energy. And we've been in this contractor support position with the programs under the Go Green Financing brand since 2017, actually. But we do have an even longer history of helping contractors to be successful in energy efficiency programs. Frontier has been in this kind of contractor support role since 2010, and like I personally have even been doing it since 2012. So we have a lot of history here. I want to give you a little bit of insight to our team, and then I'll talk about what we're going to actually help you as the contractors and project developers with. And then kind of get into what our philosophy is on contractor participation in these programs. So we've got 5 offices around the state of California, and we have account managers who are distributed basically between those offices. So we're hopefully closer to you than not. And then at the time of your enrollment into the program, so if you're already enrolled, you have one. If not, we'll assign you one. We actually assign a single dedicated account manager to your company who serves as the single point of contact for any support that you might need in the program. It's really important to us that we be accessible to you when you need us so that you can get whatever you need help with figured out to be successful in the program. So in addition to having that dedicated point of contact, we also have a dedicated phone line and an email address that go to all of our account managers so that you can get that support you need quickly. If you're in the field, if you're talking to a customer, you need an answer to a question really quickly, we want to be able to help you as soon as you need it. So for the small business financing program, some of the items that we want to support you guys with is program questions. If you take your training, you might forget something, you might be, trying to figure out a scope of work. We're here to help you with whatever it is that you might not know off the top of the bat. We're also here to help you utilize tools and marketing resources. So program flyers, things that can be co-branded with your company's logo. We are here to help with all of that. We see a lot that what contractors need is help with their first project or two, working with the finance companies, your point of contact, who and how you want to develop that relationship is something that it can be really important when you're successful in this program. So we want to help you basically develop those relationships and figure out your own process that works in your business model. Then another big one we help with is actually presenting the financing and product options to your customers. So we aren't necessarily doing lead generation or anything like that, but if you have a customer who is in a very specific situation, has some very particular needs for their energy efficiency project, we can help you figure out, okay, which lender works best for you, or which finance company works best for this particular situation, which product, that kind of thing, so that you can be the expert when you're actually working with your customer. And then the last 2 are kind of more at the back end. We help with support with compliance for program rules. So filling out paperwork, making sure that you're checking the right boxes so that you don't have to go back and forth with anybody on some of those kind of more administrative tasks. We want to help you reduce that. And then, of course, answering questions about the project platform, which Jonathan is going to demonstrate for you guys in just a minute. If you haven't already spoken with your account manager, then I kind of want to let you guys know who they're going to be. We have 3 dedicated account managers plus myself right now. So you'll either hear from Casey, Natalie, or Claudia directly if you haven't already, like I said, and otherwise we're all available for whatever need that you might have. So I really want to kind of press that point home that we are here to make the program successful. And our philosophy is that the program is successful when contractors are successful. So we want to make it easy for you. We want to make it headache-free and as smooth as it can possibly be so that you guys keep using the program, think it's valuable and can kind of capitalize on all the benefits that SBF offers for you and your customers. So with that, I will turn it back over to Jonathan. Pay attention to the project platform demonstration. I'm sure you will not remember everything, and we at Frontier will be here to answer your questions when you actually get into the weeds with using it. So thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks very much, Drew. So now I'm going to share a few slides about the project platform, and then I will demonstrate the tool itself. Some of you, if you've attended our previous webinars, may have heard us refer to it as a web-based interface. That's because it goes through your web browser. We decided to call it the project platform because we thought that sounded friendlier. So some of the features of this platform are you can view all your projects in one place and see their status as they move through the project lifecycle, through pre-approval and enrollment in the program. Information can be shared by contractors, project developers, and finance companies. So each different user will have their different capacities on the project. You can collect certifications through here, through the project platform. Customers will provide certification through email. Everyone else can log in and provide their certifications. You can upload files, including utility bills, invoices, and utility customer approvals. And the platform has automated validations which check the project for completeness. The goal here is that we're getting away from forms and signing certifications and doing it all through the platform. This tool does not replace your relationships with finance companies or your customers. It just makes communicating project information easier. So when your customer is going to apply for financing, they should still reach out to the finance company and apply for financing through them prior to engaging in with the project platform. The way that you access the interface is when you register with the program, you provide us with emails for those users who are able to submit data and those who are able to certify as authorized signatories for the program. So we're going to upload those emails into the project platform. Then you'll receive an email invitation to update your login information through the platform. The data entry accounts are authorized to submit data with the program. For those accounts, it's okay to share the email address between multiple people. If your organization has, an info@myorganization.com or something, it's okay to have that be your data entry account. For the certifier accounts who are authorized to legally bind the company, only this type of account may certify a scope of work through the platform. And that means the email address needs to be unique to one individual for that certification to be valid. These are a few general pointers on using the platform. There's a save button on every screen. It's very important to click save. You might lose your data if you don't save before navigating to a different screen. Sometimes if you enter some data into the platform and it doesn't display, click save and refresh the screen and then your data should populate. Notifications are customizable through your account, so you can set your notifications to receive only the critical ones or no notifications for that particular account. If you do see an error message, please take a screenshot and send it to us so we can get that fixed. There's multiple ways to navigate through the platform. As I said, it's a browser-based interface, so you can use your browser buttons as well as functions within the platform. There's also a notes feature for you to communicate to the different parties. I mean, we always assume that people are going to be communicating with their customers and finance companies directly, but it's a useful feature to say, I've made this change in the platform, and you can add a note to communicate to the other parties that way. And down at the bottom, you'll see there's a little blue question mark icon. That's our help text icon. They're all throughout the platform. When in doubt, hover over and you'll get a lot more information. So now I am going to demonstrate the platform itself. There, can you see my login? Great. Okay, so this is the web browser login page. And when you sign in, it takes you to your project dashboard. This is the feature that I was talking about. You can see the history of your projects and where they are in the project process. You'll see in the left-hand column, there's a project ID it'll have the most recent project at the top of the page. You have the option to name the project just for reference. You'll see the customer name here, and then the first site will display, if there are multiple sites on a project, there will be a button to display all the sites on this page. The total finance amount is the amount entered by the finance company. The total project cost is a derived value that is going to be displayed based on all of the entered values for the different scopes of work and other costs on the project. And the project status will change as the project moves through the life cycle through pre-approval and enrollment. By clicking on any of these, you can navigate to the project, but first I wanted to demonstrate how to create a new project. This can be done by any of the users, a contractor, a project developer, or a finance company can create a new project and invite other users to it. So there's multiple ways to do it. You can do it through the ribbon up on the top, or this button over here on the right. When you create a new project, there's some optional information, and then there's some information that's going to be required to create the project. The project name, as I said, is optional. The customer name is going to be required. And you can either give us the name of the company, or if it's an individual who you're working with, you can give us their first and last name. We also require at least one address. Like I said, this projects can be multi-site through this program and through the platform, but we need at least one because that's how we're going to qualify a project is receiving service from one of the investor-owned utilities. So we're going to need at least one utility providing service to at least one site in order to start the project. So if you choose other none or leave these blank, you won't be able to create the project. And at this point, inviting the participants is optional. As I said, you should already be working with a finance company at this point when you are entering a project. And the user type down here will be defaulted based on your login information. So if you're a project developer, this will populate with your information. If you're a contractor, this will populate. If you're a finance company, this will populate. Otherwise, you'll have options to invite other parties at this point. And then you can see it's created a new project on your dashboard. Now I want to show you what it looks like when a project has been created. So you can see up top here, it displays the project name. It displays the customer name. The project ID has been created and it is displayed, and the project is in new status at this point. And there's up here, there's a non-editable field which displays the various project costs as they are entered into the project. So there's energy saving measures, there's non-energy components, and then there's the total costs. If there's any distributed generation or like solar panels and batteries, then that will be a separate cost listed here. You could edit the project name here. You have the ability to add multiple sites here. And this is also the area where not only can you edit the site, but you'll also be providing, or one of the users will be providing account numbers for the utilities, as well as uploading the utility bills so that we can verify that the project is receiving service from one of the investor-owned utilities. There's customer information down here. All we really need to get started with the project is the customer name. But there's also how the customer qualifies as a small business. And then we'll need the customer email at some point so they can receive their certification email. Once they've certified, that will display here as well. And down at the bottom, you can see who created the project and when, and who last modified the project. So if you have any questions about what changes were made, you'll know who made the changes. This bottom button is not available to be clicked right now, but this is how the project has moved forward through the project lifecycle when it's being submitted for pre-approval and enrollment. And for contractors especially, the most important feature here is going to be your scope of work. Each contractor on a project, you're only going to see your own scope of work. It's a one-to-one relationship, scope of work to contractor. If there's a self-installed measures on the project, and that will be project developers' purview. They will be the one who is entering and certifying the self-installed measures in a separate scope of work. So as you can see on this screen, it's similar to the dashboard where you've got a scope of work ID, the contractor, the sites. If there's multiple sites, you'll be able to display them all here, when it was created and by whom. Once it's done, it will have a completion date, and there's the total cost of the scope of work. The scope of work status is part of what drives the project status forward too. So the scope of work status will also go through various stages in the project lifecycle as you move it forward. And clicking on any of these links takes you to your scope of work screen, which is similar to the project overview screen. So you can see there's assigned a scope of work ID. You can see the project ID and the status. This is the button over here, mark as ready for pre-approval, that is used to move the scope of work forward through the life cycle. You can see the identifying information here, the customer. A scope of work can be multiple sites. So the sites that are already entered onto the project, you can select one or more of them here for your scope of work. You also have a button to add a new site if the site is not on the project, and this will add the site to the scope of work and the project. And the contractor name will default to your name. If you're a project developer, this is where you'll have the option to choose a self-installer. And similar to the project, you can see that there is an overview of project costs. These three buttons down here are very important. This is how you're actually going to choose how the energy saving measures qualify. And down here at the bottom, we want your total costs for all the energy saving measures on the scope of work. We don't need an itemized breakdown, just the total costs. However, if you have any legally or practically required costs that are not included in this, we wanted to make sure that everyone's aware that that's part of the energy saving measures. So in this example, we have the cost of permits, drywall repair, and paint. Those aren't energy saving measures, but they count towards it because they were necessary to install those energy saving measures. And that is folded into the total ESM cost up here. So now I want to demonstrate when I click these buttons and save. As I said, the save button is very important. Now you see I've selected all three methods of measure qualification. Now they're all displaying in the scope of work menu over here. So first we're going to go look at the list measures. Up top, we have a link to the ESM list because it's very important that when you're entering the measures, we want to make sure that the measures meet any requirements that are in the list. For example, if it's Energy Star, Design Lights Consortium, what have you, then that's going to be on the list. So we want to make sure that you're checking those measures against the list to make sure they qualify. There's two ways to add measures on this screen. One is you can add a single row down here, and it adds a new blank row. And because my screen is a little bit smaller, there's actually a slider bar here to show the full row. The other way is if you're entering multiple measures within a particular category, you can select all that apply. See how it says select all that apply right here? And because we're choosing from the ESM list, we have predetermined categories and names. So if I want to select multiple measures here and click Add Selected Measures, we now have two new rows with the appropriate category and name. Now, I wanted to point out that it's possible to have multiple rows with the same category and name because you could have very different measures within that category if you have, for example, two completely different types of HVAC unit within the same category of split system or rooftop unit or what have you. So you'll see that when the rows populate, we get category and name. We need you to type in description and specification. That's very important. We want to, because these categories, as I said, are very broad categories. We want a much more detailed description in here of what the actual measure is, what the specs are. Then we want a quantity here. If it's something that doesn't easily quantify, like for example, reflective paint or insulation, you can just put 1, that's fine. Over here, replacement or new. Usually a measure is going to be replacing something that's already in there. So this defaults to replacement. If it's new and it's not replacing anything, you can select new. Fuel switching, we want to know if you're switching over, say, from gas to electric. We want to know that. It defaults to no. We're assuming it's going to use the same fuel. And then we need you to tell us what's the fuel type, electric, gas, or both. So now I want to demonstrate the other screens. By the way, I wanted to also point out, you see how these bars are green? If I add, say I add a new measure here, and I don't fill it out, I click save. Oh, it doesn't gray out the bars. The green is a signal to the user that that a project has been, that a screen has had the necessary information filled out. So you'll see when I go to this screen, see how the bars are gray? If I fill out all this information, then the bars will turn green. So this screen here is for professionally certified measures. This means that a certified energy manager or professional engineer is going to sign off on these measures as energy saving and provide us with saving estimates. So you can either select a professional consultant from the drop-down menu here if they have already had their information entered into the project, into the program, or if they're not currently in the program, then you can click the button here to invite consultant, and you're invited to provide us with their information. They'll receive an email, and then they will be eligible to be selected here. When you fill out these categories, it's similar to the same categories as, or similar fields to the ESM list. However, we're going to need you to type in the measure name because this is a much more customizable method than the ESM list. So once you've filled all these out, a button will be available to send out an email to the consultant. Then they will have a limited login where they can come in, see the measures, sign off on them as energy saving, and provide us with saving estimates. The utility custom incentive method is similar to the professional certified method in that we need you to provide us with more detail in terms of the measure name. You'll also be providing us when the custom approval took place, and you'll upload a custom approval form so that we can verify that it has been approved for a utility custom incentive. There's two other screens that are important here. This screen, we're going to require yes or no answers to 3 different questions. So there's not going to default. You actually have to come in here and answer yes or no to each of these. Does the scope of work have any non-energy saving measures? So if you're installing a patio along with the HVAC for your customer, then we'll need more details on this, a description of what you installed and how much it costs, and that will factor into the total scope of work and project costs. If there are any permits required, we want permit numbers. You can enter multiple numbers in this field. And if there are any rebates or incentives received or sought, we'll need information about that here. And this is going to be required if any of your measures are qualifying through the list category of deemed rebate other. Each utility is going to have just one row on this list. So if your utility has multiple rebates, you'll just enter the multiple rebates into this row. And lastly, on the scope of work screen, we have the file upload. There's multiple document types that can be uploaded. If there's a custom measure to proceed, you can upload that here. We're going to need at least 1 utility bill for the scope of work to qualify. And once you've moved past the pre-approval stage into towards the enrollment stage, this is where you'll be uploading your final invoice as well. So now, when I click on Mark as ready for pre-approval, I've entered my measures. You'll see error messages pop up because we have selected certified and IOU custom measures, but we don't have anything entered in here. So these type of error messages will pop up. Certified is selected, but measures are missing or invalid. So if there's any empty fields that are required, then you'll see these error messages. And you'll notice over here in the scope of work menu, little yellow hazard symbols pop up, letting you know what category needs to be addressed. So I'm going to unselect those 2 qualifying methods, save my changes. And now you'll see that the scope of work has moved forward in status to ready for pre-approval. At this point, notifications go out to the finance company and project developer if there is one. And you'll notice that these fields are now grayed out because they are now locked for editing. We don't want any editing taking place while the project is being pre-approved. If you do need to make some edits to your scope of work, you can just retract it. Another notification will go out and the fields become editable again. Then you can resubmit the scope of work. And then let's go back to the project. Okay, so that's the gist of the scope of work and project screens. For contractors, the scope of work is going to be your main emphasis. You can create new projects if you want to, but you may find that you have a project developer or a finance company inviting you to a project to either create a scope of work or enter your scope of work that's been created for you. The project screen is mainly going to be of interest for the finance companies and project developers. And with that, I would like to open up the floor to any questions. So you can either submit your questions through chat, through Q&A. Yes, that's right. Through the Q&A window, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you and we can share your voice with the group. Okay. I don't see anyone raising their hand at this point.
Good morning, everyone. This is David Gibbs. I'm the program manager here at the Chief and overseeing the design and implementation of these programs. I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that there have been a few questions asked during the presentation. You can check the Q&A dialogue to see those questions, just in case you might have the same question.
Okay, I have one from Matthew Singer. He's asking approximately when will we have access to this portal? We can send out the invitations for people to sign in as soon as we have your email. So if you're already enrolled in the program, we can send out those invitations today. What?
So the next question is from Kimberly Fabot. I hope I got that right, Kimberly. How is the lender selected, and at what point in the process is the lender selected? Great question. So we imagine that each contractor and project developer will be working with finance companies kind of prior to interacting with this project platform. The three enrolled finance companies we have at this time are Ascentium, DLL, and AFG. I encourage you to reach out, anybody on this call, to reach out to those finance companies and kind of begin a relationship with them now. And so the way we envision this interacting with your normal process is we want this to be as seamless as possible. So as you are interacting with the customer indicates that they need financing, you would introduce them to the finance company. You would work out the financing details with the finance company themselves. Each of the finance companies we have offer fantastic customer service, and we'll work with each customer on a project by project basis to get them qualified. Once they've been kind of pre-approved through the financing company, then we would enter the project data into the project platform for pre-approval.
Okay, I'm going to answer a couple more questions in the Q&A, and then we have a raised hand, which we'll get to after that. So I'll take this question from Nathan Schutzelar. Are equipment costs, lifts, cranes, etc., part of the ESM cost or part of the L&P costs? And the answer is you can do it either way. The reason we highlighted legal and practical is that we want to make sure that contractors understand that those costs are part of energy saving measures. We didn't want them separately broken out into non-energy measures because the energy saving measures determine how the credit enhancement is calculated. So if you have already folded those costs into your total ESM cost, that's fine. You can enter them there. If you have them broken out separately, you can enter them into the legal and practical area, and it will still be calculated the same way. So the next question I'm going to hand off to Dave, and then I'm going to answer the raised hand.
This next question is from Michael Junifun, and the question is, what are the financing rates? We need to know the rate in advance of closing the project so that it can be incorporated into the project financials. Another great question, Michael. Each financing company offers a range of rates, and it's going to be the rate that will be offered through the program is going to be tied to that specific customer, obviously, and the underwriting process that the finance company undertakes normally. However, each finance company through this program is offering rates and terms that are better than their normal market rates or terms due to the credit enhancement they're receiving. So we're confident that the rates and terms that each customer will be getting are slightly better than they would if they were to just call the finance company on their own. So in that in the initial stages of the project, when the customer is working with a finance company to be approved for the financing, they'll work out those terms between themselves. We stay out of that conversation, other than just ensuring that the rates and terms are better than are being provided better than what the finance company otherwise would normally offer.
Okay, so we have a raised hand from Howard Kagan. Howard, if I'm going to try to unmute you here. That's strange. Okay, you may need to unmute yourself because I'm not able to click the unmute button. You know, I'm going to temporarily promote you to panelist and see how that works out. Okay, so go ahead, Howard, please identify yourself and your organization. Oh,
Louder talk.
Doesn't look like he has a microphone connected. Huh, Howard, I'm not seeing a microphone connected for you here on the Zoom. You may need to, oh, well, yeah, that's because I hit unmute all. Okay, sorry about that, Howard. I guess you're going to have to submit you either try to sign in, activate your microphone through Zoom, or submit your question through text. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and return to the other questions. We have one from James Dodenhoff. If I missed this, I apologize. Are there specific energy savings modeling tools that are required or desired under this program? No, we don't actually require modeling. The way that our program works is that we are attempting to be very flexible in how we are qualifying energy saving measures. So through the list, if there was a reasonable standard that was already in place, like I mentioned, Energy Star, Design Rights Consortium, or any other kind of standard, that will be on the list. If the measures are qualifying via the certification of a certified energy manager or professional engineer, then they need to provide us their certification that the measures will save energy and provides with an estimate in terms of kilowatt hours, therms, or both, in how much the measures are going to save. And through the utility custom program, we're relying on the utilities due diligence to approve the measures through the custom incentive process. So our goal as a program is to gather energy savings at a portfolio level, but also to allow the market to drive energy savings with the idea that customers are going to want to install measures that are going to save them energy and have that demonstrated to them by their contractor and or project developer. So long answer, but no, we're not requiring modeling for the energy saving measures. I also have an anonymous attendee asking, as a project developer, we must use a contractor on your list to install a project. Is that correct? The answer is not exactly. A contractor needs to be enrolled in the program at the time of enrollment. We do provide a courtesy pre-check for the finance company when a contractor is being listed for us on the project at the time of pre-approval. However, it's really better for the contractor to sign up with the program. It's pretty easy. It only takes about a half an hour online training and then submit the application, which we turn around pretty quickly. And we want to check the contractors ahead of time because if a contractor's license is not in good standing, or if they have disciplinary action against them recently, then they won't be able to qualify for the program. So if you have a contractor that you want to work with, please get them to enroll with the program.
And so for the next two questions, I'll kind of take them as a 2-for-1. First from Jeff Guild, can you share the lender list and contact information? Jeff, the lenders are all listed on Go Green Financing. And if you were to navigate to the Find Financing tool under the Small Business tab, you'll see that all of the finance companies are listed there with their contact info. They've each also got a program-specific landing page that each company has developed. And so if you click on their Contact Us button below each finance company, it will take you to their program-specific landing page. Each finance company did a great job with that, and we're really happy that we can send you to those pages. There's also a little bit of information about each finance company, including some of the terms and products that each company offers. The next question is from Nathan. Nathan asks, payments can be made via on-bill repayments. So how does this program differ from the standard IOU OBF programs? And it's a great question. I'm glad you asked it because I want to clear up any misunderstanding here. So at this point in time, the small business financing program is offered only through off-bill repayment, meaning we don't have on-bill repayment functionality yet. So that is a big difference right off the bat between this program and OBF. Come 2020, we're hoping by Q3 we have on-bill repayment functionality as a feature for the small business program that will be available for each customer. We are in the process of testing all of the infrastructure for that on-bill repayment functionality at this point in time, and are going to be developing the regulations over the next couple months. So stay tuned as those regulations are developed. We'll be offering some public workshops in order to get feedback from you all, our stakeholders, on those regulations. So just kind of speaking in general terms, some of the main differences between our program and the OBF program is, our program offers private capital to finance these agreements. This program, and because it's private capital, we offer some of the expediency that you get through the private sector. So we have approval turnaround times of 24 to 48 hours, which differs from the OBF program. We're able to offer a wider variety of product types, from loans to leases to service agreements and what we're calling savings-based payment agreements. We're also able to offer products that don't necessarily meet the bill neutrality requirements of on-bill financing. We also have terms that extend beyond the 5-year limitation that you see with on-bill financing. Our financing can extend up to 10 years. Now, because we are dealing with private financing, there is an interest rate associated with our financing. And again, those rates are determined by each finance company on a customer-by-customer basis. Unlike on-bill financing, which offers 0% financing. We're never going to compete with 0%, but what we are offering, like we did say, is below market rate that these companies would otherwise offer due to that credit enhancement.
I wanted to elaborate on that a little bit more. I can't remember, Dave, did you mention underwriting? Because this is private financing, it's going to go through, the finance companies are going to have their own underwriting process, but it's not going to have that bill payment requirement, so that a customer who doesn't qualify for OBF for that reason or for other reasons may very well qualify for financing through our program. And as I mentioned, this program is supported by the investor-owned utility, so we designed it to work in conjunction with utility offerings, including OBF. So it's possible to use both OBF and this program on a project as well.
That's a great point, Jonathan. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, we do see this as a great complement to OBF. Our partners at the IOUs have done a great job in designing those OBF programs. Like I said, we're not going to compete with 0%, but we do see a place for us to complement those programs.
Did you want to answer Marianne's question?
One thing I did want to state and kind of reiterate that Jonathan had mentioned, because it is private financing, the terms are going to be extended beyond the bill repay or the terms required, the repayment terms that are required by OBF. The bill neutrality requirements for OBF we don't include. And one big advantage to this group in particular, I think, is that our finance companies are all offering progress payments or prepayments for these programs or projects, which means that you as the contractor or contracting company don't need to carry the costs of each project until the project's completed and your program is approved through the OBF process. And many times you're able to get payments to either purchase the equipment or to carry your costs through the program ahead of time, which I think is a big benefit to you as project developers and contractors.
Next question is from Jeff Guild. If certification goes through a CEM or PE, does it have to be an entity other than the contractor or PD? That's a great question. The answer is no. It can be internal to the contractor or project developer's organization. We are relying on the strength of that certification or license because we know that the certifying or licensing body is going to hold the individual accountable. So that's why we are. It's okay to have that individual be internal to the organization. Let's see, the next question. Marianne Bithell asks, can you combine multiple sites to meet the $10,000 project minimum? That's definitely not a problem. Multiple sites are fine for the program. And the $10,000 project minimum is really, that's what we have, the project minimum that we have with our current financing companies. And as I mentioned, we are working on getting a micro lender to have projects smaller than $10,000. Then we've got Chris Terrell. Our agricultural customers located in Imperial Irrigation District outside of the major IOUs eligible for the program. Unfortunately, the answer is no. Energy saving measures need to save energy for one of the or more of the investor-owned utilities to qualify for the program, because as I mentioned, this program is supported by utility ratepayer dollars. So as the program stands, no, we are not able to qualify projects outside of IOU territory.
Just one kind of small point to make there, that if you do have customers who are within a IOU territory but receive their service or their fuel from a regional energy network or a community choice aggregator, those customers do qualify for the program. However, they must receive a bill from one of the IOUs. Those customers, if they are outside of an IOU territory, still would not qualify for the program, but if they're within that IOU territory and receive power from a REN or a CCA, they do qualify.
Thank you. Next question is from Ben Peters. CorrelateInc.com has a simple energy modeling platform that can help identify and model energy saving measures. What are the co-marketing options that are available under this program? Right now, we are advertising project developers through GoGreenFinancing.com. And we have a list of services. Let me go ahead and pull up GoGreenFinancing.com right now. So when you go to the Find a Contractor page, then you will see we have a tab for small business contractors and a tab for small business project developers. And when you search by service, we have a number of project developer services here. So I don't know if modeling would fall under energy analysis in your opinion, but that makes sense to me, or perhaps under benchmarking. I'm not quite totally familiar with exactly where modeling would fall on this list, but this is where we would be advertising project developers and their various services. And I'd be delighted to talk with you about additional project developer marketing, co-branding and marketing options as well, because we do have a marketing team and we're always looking for opportunities to get the word out there about our program and our program participants.
And Ben, just to add on quickly, as Drew mentioned earlier when she was speaking on behalf of Frontier Energy, please feel free to reach out to Frontier as your contractor manager. That also includes project developer manager. They do have the opportunity to produce some co-branded marketing materials that you could use. So please reach out to Frontier as a resource also.
And the last question here we have is from Kirk Oatman. We're getting emails. Does that mean we're on the stakeholder list and we'll get the invitation? No, you actually have to apply to participate in the program. So thank you for asking that question. So let me show you on gogreenfinancing.com. You will go to partners, and then under contractors, you'll see small business. You click here. There's two different tabs that take you to the same place, which is either you can go to the project developers tab, and it will have buttons to enroll, or there's an enrollment tab, and there's a button to take the training and enroll. So what's involved in applying for a contractor? There's that half-hour online training that I mentioned. You can take that on demand. You can take it sequentially in different pieces if it works out for your schedule. The project developer needs to take that training as well as a separate project developer training. I would say on average it takes people about an hour to do both. Then you need to submit an application. So for contractors, the application is we're going to check your license, and then we're going to, we need proof of liability insurance. For project developers, we also need that liability insurance, and we either need a list of 10 projects that you have completed in that role of a project developer, or if you are acting to implement a utility energy saving contract, then we would need evidence of that contract or to verify that contract. So that means you're actually implementing a utilities energy saving program as a third-party implementer. You're contracted to do that. So those are the two ways to qualify for a project developer. Once you submit your application, we have a pretty fast turnaround, and then you'll receive the invitation to log into the project platform.
Kirk, as a member of our, being the fact that you're on our stakeholder list, will let you know that as we move through the regulation process and start designing the on-bill repayment functionality for the program, you will be on that list and you will receive notifications about that process. But as Jonathan said, in order to enroll in the program and get an invitation to log into the project platform, you need to go through the application process that he just described.
And those are, looks like that's the end of the questions. Thank you all very much for participating. We're very excited to be fully launched and have the capacity to be taking on projects. So definitely contact the finance companies and let's start getting your customers financed. If anyone has any follow-up questions, please feel free to contact us or to contact Frontier Energy with your program questions. Thank you all for attending. And as I said, this webinar will be available online once we have posted it. Have a great day. Bye.